Here's some answers to some questions that you asked. It being a holiday week here in America, we thought we would do something a little bit different and make a Q&A video, which we haven't made in about a year. So I took to social media and asked you for your questions, and you sent them via Twitter and Facebook and Tumblr and Reddit. So yeah, we're gonna answer as many of them as is reasonable to answer. But before we do that, I just want to say, since it's Thanksgiving, thanks to everybody who watches the show, who has great conversations, asks awesome questions. Idea Channel would not exist and would not be the thing that it is without you. So in the spirit of giving thanks, hey, thanks. Okay, so now that that is done, let's answer some questions. To aquissiaq for breakfast, I'm a yogurt and granola guy. I also drink a lot of coffee. There was a joke a while back when Brady was on the set that I smell strongly of coffee.
You all watch this on YouTube, you probably don't realize this. Mike really smells of coffee. I'm just saying.
That was not a joke. I actually do just smell like coffee. My blood is mostly coffee. StringEpsilon wants to know my least favorite book that I have read for at least 30 pages, and I have two answers to this question. The first is I have read, there have been two books written by this man called Andrew Keen, and I have read both of them, and I hated every single page of every single one of them, and for anybody who knows Andrew Keen, you'll probably know why. For anybody who doesn't know Andrew Keen, I would recommend you keep it that way. The other is, and I'm gonna make some enemies for this, The Hunger Games. But I have read every single Hunger Games book from beginning to end. And the reason I read them is because I think that the books are better screenplays than they are books. And I think that the movies are so good and such a great adaptation of the ideas in the books, but the book itself is just, God, it's awful. But the experience of reading it and I always read them right before, reread them right before the movies come out. And it's such a strange experience to read something and be like, oh God, this is so bad. And then go and watch the movie and it's so much better than the book was. I know that's weird. Cryptobum wants to know the books which have influenced my worldview, and this is a little bit of a difficult question to answer because for Idea Channel, every week I'm reading something that is influencing and changing my worldview. It's, one of the things that is great about making this show, that I am always expanding my understanding of the world and culture. Specifically, there are two things though that come right to mind. Most books by Edward Tufte, but specifically Envisioning Information and The Visual Display of Quantitative Information, are two books that when I first read them really changed the way that I viewed the world. I think because they show how the proper display of information that exists in the world can so readily and easily and powerfully impact our understanding of it. And I think that it was when I first read those books that I started to become interested in the way ideas and information is communicated to an audience. So those two books, yeah, huge impact. And as far as fiction is concerned, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. No question about it. Made me who I am. Stormygeddon. Do you not know that a man is not dead while his name is still being spoken? I think is what Terry Pratchett said. Piwikiwi. Yes, I do really want to make more episodes that are in a playlist format or like a lean back where we introduce ideas between each of the videos. There are a couple in the works. I don't want to spoil any surprises, but yeah, I also in general really want to figure out ways for Idea Channel to use more of YouTube's technology in weird ways. Tower 07, favorite board games. I really love Space Alert. I also really like Pandemic, Mansions of Madness, Eclipse, and Cosmic Encounter. Avey Reynolds, what have I been listening to? So I'm always listening to a ton of things, and if you want to keep up to date of what I am interested in and listening to, Twitter is the best way to do that. But today, the things that I listened to were the new Eli Kessler record, which is great. It's a collaboration with Oren Ambarchi. The new Deerhoof record, which I really, really like, and I have been slowly working my way through the Pauline Oliveros 12 CD set that from Important Records, which is just consistently blowing my mind. Ugh, it's so good. Highly analytical. Each of these questions deserves its own 10-minute long video as a response, but to just give you a semblance of an answer for each, one of my favorite things to think about is what would happen in the world if all borders were to disappear and passports were to become something of a relic of a past and unsophisticated age. As far as capitalism, I think that when you become reflexively uncritical of any system of any kind, it starts to do more harm than good, and I wonder whether or not we have lapsed into that reflex with capitalism. And as far as urbanization goes, I think that there are benefits and detriments. Clearly, I also wonder whether or not it is a thing that is essentially unavoidable for weird economic and just subconscious reasons. I do, however, despair to think of a point in the future where the East Coast becomes like the mega cities from Judge Dredd. No. Max Sommerfeld, Hogwarts House, Ravenclaw. Though I am probably the least competitive person that you have ever met. So, not academically competitive in the same way Ravenclaws might stereotypically be. Linda Petersen, I am assuming that you are asking what my actual in real life superpower is and not if I could choose any fantastic superpower, which would I choose? So, my actual real life superpower is that I can recognize actors when they are doing voiceover for commercials or in animated films. I can tell you who is speaking even though you can't see their face. It's a very strange superpower. Comes in handy more than you'd guess. Nicholas, it has been about 15 years since I have seriously played Magic the Gathering, but black and red were the colors that I always played with. I think because I thought those were the cool colors. Are those still the cool colors? Are there cool colors? Clearly I'm out of touch. Shelby Jane, I get recognized on the street maybe once or twice a month, so not very often, but definitely more often than before I made Idea Channel. And everybody who stops me on the street is very, very nice and super cool. And this is a thing that my friends actually point out, that after I have an interaction with someone who stops me on the street, they're like, your fans are so nice and interesting. And then I beam at them like an idiot and I say, I know, right? Ollie from PhilosophyTube asks if I have a favorite play. And this is a little bit difficult to answer because, I've done a lot of work in theater, but mostly in sort of experimental theater. So things that don't have scripts in a way that you would normally think theater would, so they don't travel well, I guess. But if I had to answer, I would say I have a couple answers. The Tempest is my favorite Shakespeare play, which I realize is a strange, maybe unpopular answer. I really liked Wojciech, big Einstein on the Beach fan, Philip Glass and Robert Wilson. And I think my favorite piece of performance that I've ever seen is this show that this theater company, Elevator Repair Service Theater, did called GATZ, G-A-T-Z. And it's a 6-hour-long performance where one of the performers reads The Great Gatsby from beginning to end. And as this character is reading The Great Gatsby word for word, beginning to end, the characters in the office, the players, are mirroring or in some way responding to the things that are happening in The Great Gatsby. And seeing this was a hugely formative experience for me, to see that theater could be this intense, durationally extreme thing that was built on pre-existing culture and could react to culture in that way. And it was just, man, yeah, I have nothing but great memories of GATZ. Love that show. That might be my favorite. I don't know if that's a play. Anonymous wonders if Idea Channel is anything like what I expected I would be doing when I was in college, and the answer is no, not even a little. I moved to New York and thought that I would write music and work in theater as a sort of technician, as a sound designer and composer, which is what I was doing before I started making Idea Channel. I was also making performance art, so I thought that I would be involved in theater and performance, but never ever considered myself an on-camera personality, which is a thing that I still have a really hard time with, that when people refer to me as talent, you're like, oh, the talent? That is so strange to me. I'm just a guy who sometimes says things to Morgan, who is standing behind the camera. Yeah, so, no. That being said, I'm having a great time and love making Idea Channel, so no problem. That's okay. Okay, so that is, I think, a sufficient number of questions to have answered. We will be back next week with a regular episode and comment responses to the Too Many Cooks video. If it is a holiday week for you, I hope it is a great one. And if it isn't, I hope it's a great one anyways. Why should you be only having great weeks when it's a holiday? Everybody have a great week. We'll see you soon.